in this online international conference. I, Dr. Preeti Srivastav, with my colleague Ashwani Gulane, we are moderating this international conference. This conference, now I just want to start this conference in the next few minutes for my speech for the conference. I will be working you through what the conference is about and how useful is for you and what does the future hold for all of us in the context of this theme of this conference. So we just start with the slides of this PPT presentation about this conference. Shall I start this PPT, sir? Now,
Yes.
this, yes, the theme of our international conference is on the new waves of digital and socialization and educational system, which is jointly organized by the Research Cultural Society and Key National University of Trade and Economics Development Department of Journalism and the Advertising. This conference is for the 2 days. It's for the 10th and 11th October. Today is our first day for this session. So we start with the inaugural session, and our first guest is Dr. Suresh Chandra. So we start the session with the Dr. Suresh Chandra, who is professor and HOI Amity Schools of Communication in Amity University, Chhattisgarh, India. Sir, kindly share your thought about this conference. Dr. Suresh Chandran Nayak. Hello.
Dr. Manirajan. So a very good morning to one and all the participants. I'm really very happy that the Research Cultural Society in association with National University of Trade Economics Department of Journalism and Advertising is organizing this conference, that means international 2-day, 1-day international conference on new ways of digitization, socialization, educational system. So that means I'm there in the inaugural session and other speakers, they are also there. That means I'm desperate to listen other speakers, Professor Yamina and Professor Manoj and Dr. Manirajan as well. So prior to that, let me have my viewpoints. That means how for this seminar or this international conference is going to be beneficial and that is beneficial and important for one and all who are present here. Let me, because some of the foreign, that means the professors from abroad, they have joined in this session. Let me tell you one thing that recently the government of India, they have come up with that means a new education policy 2020. So whenever we are talking of new education policy, then we need to understand what exactly education is and why education is required. Okay. So when we are talking of new waves of digitization, socialization, and educational system, that how people are shifting from the traditional one to the online. I remember the days when that means the pandemic the pandemic started in India with full speed. That is in the month of March. Being a teacher, I remember that we were also a little bit that means afraid that how do we conduct the classes and how we are going to tackle with the students, how we are going to impart the knowledge to them, how we are going to conduct the practical classes for them, how to conduct the workshops for them. But now after 6 to 7 months, now we can, now I can say at least being with Amity, I can proudly say that we are having so much infrastructure and technological, we are so sound that now we are able to provide the lectures. Not only the lectures, we conduct the workshops, that means the seminars, the conferences, and many more. So if you want to retain yourself in the, that means education system, if you want to really learn something from that means the pandemic should be used as that means as an opportunity, not a challenge. So the pandemic has taught us how to tackle with the, that means the odd situations, and how to turn the odd situations into an opportunity. And that we have learned from this COVID-19. The whole globe is suffering from COVID-19. I'm so happy, and my other colleagues may do agree with me that India is the only country where the recovery rate is very high. The recovery rate is very high so far as India is concerned. So at this juncture, that means at this pandemic situation, when that means all of us, we are not, that means we were not able to understand how we are going to, that means impact the education. Now we have the substitute of online education. I'm not saying that the online education will replace the teachers. I'm not saying that the online teachers will be an alternative to the traditional one. No, but there is no alternative for the time being. So through online, now we are able to impart the education to the whole globe. I'm sitting here somewhere, that means Professor Yamina is from Ukraine, or from Dr. Manoj from West Africa, and other members, they have also joined here. And how is it possible? We have never thought, and I'm just sharing my experience, that when we used to think of a webinar, so during that time, conducting a webinar, that means we were not in favor of conducting a webinar. Rather, we prefer to go for a seminar where that means we want the physical presence of the people. But due to the pandemic, and the pandemic taught us that how, even if in the odd situation, and even if in the challenging situation, how we are going to, that means conduct the seminars, conferences, and the knowledge should not stop anywhere. So the prime objective of any seminar, any conference or a webinar, whatever may be, the knowledge gain. And through these webinars and through these conferences, or that may be a physical conference, that may be an e-conference, we are learning so many things. Okay. So coming to the topic, it's new waves of digitization, socialization, educational system. Let me tell you one thing, which is very important. When the government of India came up with the new education policy 2020, and they were saying that education is a must to one and all, because without education you cannot think of, that means anything is not possible. Education is one of the, that means one of the most important and one of the strong weapon in the hands of the citizens, in the hands of the common man. If you are educated, if you have the knowledge, and that is the reason knowledge is powerful than any other thing. So keeping in view the record, if you that means if you see nowadays a number of seminars and conferences that are going on. Okay, so in this situation also, the universities, the colleges, the schools, even they turn to online, because they don't find any alternative. Yes, once the situation normalizes, once the pandemic is over, once we are coming up with the vaccines and other medicines which are required for in order to tackle with the COVID-19, then maybe the universities or colleges reopen. But even if this pandemic situation, we are able to manage the education system, we are able to impart the high quality education, the high quality knowledge to all the stakeholders who are associated with any of the college, university, or school here in our country. So far as India is concerned, where we were thinking that online education may not be possible, people may not join, because we have an information gap is there, internet gap, digital gap is there. People are not having. Even if today, that means I can tell you that people who are staying in the remote areas, even if in the rural areas, even if they are sitting under the tree and they can avail the network and they are joining the classes. That is the beauty of the online. That is the beauty of the digitization. That is the beauty of how that means digitization affected the lives of the people. Now everything is going that means digital. Everything is going online. You tell me, I don't think that means even that means starting from the banking sector to the media sector, everything is going online and everything is going digital. So at this juncture, what I feel that being that means being a media educator, even if in the media field also many changes are that are taking place. People are saying that there may not be that means many opportunities and avenues in media, but being a media educator, I'm sure that once the pandemic is over, we will have more opportunities and more avenues. And even if in this pandemic also, we are with the new avenues and the new opportunities. So being a scholar, being a student, being a that person who is inclined towards media, or who is inclined towards advertising, who is inclined towards public relations, whatever may be the domain, whatever may be the area, he or she should concentrate on that and try to avail the digital or the online offers. Because nowadays people, that means the companies, they are in search of that means the content writers. Now the companies are searching for that means the backpack journalist. So the backpack journalist means you should have both the traditional as well as that means the digital knowledge. If you are having both traditional and digital, then only you are going to cope up with the present situation. If you don't have the both of traditional as well as online or digital, you may not be able to retain yourself in the market for a longer period of time. And I am so happy that even if my teachers, that means the senior professors, that means who have taught us, even they are going online. That is a great thing. I can see that they are also in many platforms. They are also that means they deliver that means lectures in many online platforms. So this pandemic taught us, and this situation taught us how to go digital and how to go online. This is number one. And number two is, which is very important, I'm telling you, why whenever we're talking of new waves, what exactly the new wave of education? What exactly the new wave of digitization? New wave means what changes that means that are taking place. If you want to survive, that means in the society, if you want to survive in the market, if you want to retain yourself in the market, then the only thing which is very much required and which is that means very much important, that is you have to, that means obey, and you have to manage yourself with the existing situations only. If you cope up with the managing, that means the existing situations, then only you will be able to manage the future, then only you will be able to control the future, and then only you will be able to rule the future as well. And this is what, then there is a saying in communication, that communication rules the world. Communication never dies, and without communication, nothing is possible across the globe. And it is only through a communication we are communicating, we are establishing our relationship, and the whole globe is marching towards development. So the topic which Mr. Patel and the Research Cultural Society and National University of Trade and Economics Department of Journalism and Advertising, they have organized this conference. I really thank them, and I really appreciate that they have come up with a wonderful topic, very meaningful topic, and which is very, 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 very relevant for this, at least for this time. So with this, thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Stay home, stay safe. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for giving us and giving the efforts of for this session. And thank you. And I just want to say that really this COVID-19 has changed the situation for all over the world, but still the learning is going on. Now our next session is for Professor Aniana Luzon, which will be introduced by our next faculty, that is Ashwini Gulane. Please, Ashwini Gulane, ma'am, introduce the ma'am.
Hello everyone, and welcome to today's session. Myself Ashwini Gulane, Assistant Professor, Dr. D.Y. Patil College of Education, Savitribai Phule, Pune University. I would like to introduce today's guest speaker, Professor Aniana Luzon, Head Department of Journalism and Advertising, Kyiv National University of Trade and Economics, Ukraine. She did her PhD in Economics from Kyiv National University of Technology and Design, Ukraine. She is research expertise. She has published almost 80 plus research papers in different journals. Her specialization to cover problem of media, research, media cluster, brand management, integrated business structure, advertising, sociology, and so on. She has got many awarded. Some are National University of Trade and Economics Award on High Professionalism and Scientific Success in 2018. Then Scientific and Methodical Seminar on Franchising Development Strategy Brand in 2015. Women Capital Management Forum, Women Capital Forum, training as an institute for the development of the organization and as a form of accompanying change, the experience of Ukraine and experience USA in 2014. Please join me in giving Professor Yanin Lissit a warm welcome. Welcome, ma'am. Now I request to Dr. Preeti, ma'am. Please continue the session.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, Dr.
Everything is okay. Okay, hello everybody. I would like to tell everybody thanks for this conference. I'm very glad to see all of you, all my colleagues, my friends, and we will talk about new ways of digitalization, socialization, and educational system. I also would like to introduce my colleague from my department of journalism and advertising. Two colleagues with us today, Galina Brykhanova, Associate Professor, PhD, and her research interest is graphic design, internet technologies in education. And another colleague from my department, he is Dmitry Yatyuk, also associate professor, and his interests are brand management and advertising. And I would like to introduce my short speech with slides. Maybe it will be better to understand because sometimes volume is not clean. Let me share the screen and I will start. My God, where is my presentation? Okay. Can you see? Tell me. Can you?
Yes, yes, let's video.
Okay. Okay. But wait. Okay, let's something. Okay. We will talk about new ways of digitalization, socialization, and educational system. Of course, we have rather different life nowadays because we have some problems with quarantine, with COVID, and that's why we have new condition of our life. Over the past 8 months, a lot of countries across the world have experienced various forms of remote work and distance learning as governments were coming to grips with COVID-19. Quarantine, lockdown, shelter in place, countries gave this isolation different names, but this time was characterized by the same need to transform many businesses from retail to education, as my colleagues told us before. And some words about digitalization. This no going back attitude is not just coming from the reality that COVID-19 will impact many in-person activities and spaces, from open offices to travel and events. The desire to change is also the result of seeing the positive impact digital transformation has on a business. And of course, we have some new condition in our socialization related with communication among people, because humans have been transforming during this time. We have been tested every day while we try to work, teach, and live from home. As our social norm change, some of us might spend the extra time to have to learn to bake, cook, speak, and new languages. And this gives us two different opportunities. The first, this new condition making some problem with mental health. For example, many kids and many people are facing with this problem during alone under physiological stress, and they deal with the impact of COVID-19. And another wave, another trend is helping us build a more marketable skill set, because we have more information. We don't need a lot of time to study what we need. We use with our students webinars, digital conference, and Instagram classes, and all new tools for education. And of course, education is a basic need for every human being, and digital education is the current trend, and very important for every students and learners to more focused in their learning. And what I would like to say, that of course in nowadays we use social networking and educational purposes, and among social networking services, Facebook has become most popular for communication with familiar and unfamiliar persons. And now we also can organize our conference with a colleague with such tools. I mean digitalization. And nowadays social networking also used for educational process. And social networking is an internet-based medium that makes a way communicate with friends, family, customers, and clients. And social networking can occur for social progress, businesses purpose, or both through sites such Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn. And every day we can use those tools. And what I would like to for conclusions, that today most of the learning styles have been converted into a digital education system, and we can work with e-learning that will more interactive and easy to access. And day by day, all over the world goes through with digitalization, and our educational system in one of the biggest fields where we can introduce more digitalization for improving our life, for become better, for study our students, our children, and to make our life better. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you for your stimulating speech. It was very interesting to hear about the views you had. Now the time for our next guest. And our next guest is a really very renowned person, Dr. Manoj Kumar Mishra. I really feel privileged to announce the name of this person. He has a great personality in the education field, and he is in Department of Economics and Statistics, Britain, American University, Benin, campus, West Africa. Sir, I request you to share the session.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm audible. I'm audible,
Yes,
ma'am.
sir. Yes, sir. You're audible. Yes, sir. Continue.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Honorable Director, Research Culture Society India, Dr. C.M. Patel, Professor Yanina Lisun, HOD Journalism, Kyiv National University of Trade and Economics, Ukraine, Professor Suresh Chandra Naik, MET University, Chhattisgarh, Professor Mariranjan Mosa University, Zambia, Professor Rekha Pathak, Savitri Bai Phule University, Pune, Dr. Preeti Chirag Patel, and moderator, the delegates and participants of this today's international conference. First of all, I want to congratulate the organizing committee, Research Culture Society, and Kyiv National University of Trade and Economics, Ukraine, for organizing such type of wonderful international conference on very, very pertinent topics, new waves of digitalization, socialization, and education system. So in this my lecture, I have confined to education as a tool for development. I will discuss this, and I thanks to the organizing committee for inviting me in this very pertinent international conference. So what I will discuss the in this lecture education as a tool for development, some issues, objectives of education, educational scenario, a global perspective, higher education system in underdeveloped countries, particularly in the case of India, challenges, and education, employability and development, coordination, all those things I will discuss. So first of all, uh, doing the study of impact of the education on the development and how to make a civilized world, first of all, it is very important to define the objective of education so that all the countries of the world should follow this objective. So what should be the objective of education? Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, the former president of India, has told that excellence in thinking and action is the foundation of any mission. Excellence is not by accident, it is a process where an individual or organization or nation continuously strives to better oneself. That is the very important. So now it is important that what should be the objective of education? Is education for employment? Is education for income generation, wealth generation, or is education for greed maximization? Is education for moral development or nation building or character building? These things is very, very important. So our Veda says that Vidya dadati vinayam, vinaya dayati patratam, patratvat dhan mapanoti, धनातः धर्म ततः सुखम। विद्या विनय को देती है, विनय से पात्रता, पात्रता से धन, धन से धर्म और धर्म से सुख की प्राप्ति होती है। अल्टीमेट द ऑब्जेक्टिव ऑफ एजुकेशन लाइज इन द फैक्ट दैट नॉलेज लीड्स टू हैप्पीनेस। A true complete knowledge gives discipline. From discipline comes worthiness. From worthiness one gets wealth, and from wealth one gets good deeds, and from good deeds we get the happiness or joy. But in the present era, we are interested to cross the channel. Directly from the knowledge, we are interested to get the happiness. Directly from the knowledge, we are interested to get the health, and that is not good for the world society, for the any country of the world. So we should follow this rule, knowledge from knowledge to happiness, but systematically, channel by channel. This is the important. So I'm now discussing what is the educational scenario at the global perspectives. So we are saying that educational institutions has been heterogeneous distributed all over the world, continent basis, country basis, state basis, region basis, urban and rural areas wise, and even in the family level, there is the heterogeneous distribution of education all over the world. And we are seeing that the demand of education is very high, while supply of educational institutions is very low, and education has become a commodity in the market. Commercialization of education has become particularly in this century, and we try to purchase the education. The cost of education is high, and education is connected to the employability. The education is good, which can give more employment, which can give the high salary, high level of salary. Such type of education, we are thinking that is good. So there is also the problem. We can see that North America is highly developed in the education system. North America is highly developed in the education system, while South America is not developed in the education system. European countries are very developed in the education system, while African countries are very poor in the education system. Uh, some parts of Eastern Asia is developed, while other parts of Asia is not developed in the educational system. In the South world, only Australia is developed in the education system. Means I'm saying that generally we can say that North world is more developed, South world is less developed, and it is showing that there is heterogeneous distribution in the educational system on the basis of continents level all over the world. Educational development that is related to that the high supply of educational institutions, the quality of educational institutions, the employability of education, all those things are very, very important. So particularly we are seeing that accessibility of education or affordability of education has become the question mark in the present scenario. In the globalization scenario, all the countries are coming near to each other. International trade becoming famous, socialization becoming famous, digitalization becoming famous. In this also where we are seeing the high gap in the educational system. One thing we are also observing that in particularly the education level in the developed countries is very high. In the underdeveloped or developing country, it is not at the satisfactory level. As far as it is concerned to the employability in the developed countries, the employability of educated people is about 85%, while in the underdeveloped country, the employability is about 10 to 15%, even less than 10% in some underdeveloped countries of the world. And we know that education tends to employment generation. Education develops the human resource. The world has some countries in the underdeveloped countries has a huge population, large population, but there is the population is not has been converted into human resource. It is lacking the human resource. We have seen the development of America, development of USA was based on the technology, human resource, and raw material all interaction. But in the case of underdeveloped countries, we are seeing that the development is low, education literacy rate is low. Literacy is only concerned to the reading and writing. While literacy rate is also low, the life expectancy is also low, the per capita income is also low in the underdeveloped countries. This is the main result of the low degree and low intensity of education in the underdeveloped country. And in the developed country, the per capita income is about 30 times, 40 times of the developed country. The literacy rate is about 99%, 98%, while in the underdeveloped countries, if you discuss about the African countries, the literacy rate is less than 50% in most of the countries. In the case of India, that is about 22 or 23%. So this is posing a great question, a big question on the world sustainability, on the on the innovation and development of the world, and it is also a question on the humanity and global development. So such type of we are seeing that the problem of exclusive education, only some people at the family level are getting the education. As far as it is concerned to the rural and urban area, in the urban area, the supply of educational institutions are high, the literacy rate is high, while in the rural areas, the supply of educational institution is about to zero, very low, very low. I'm saying about the underdeveloped country, not about the developed countries. When you go to the America, when you talk about America, Canada, European countries, developed Germany, France, they are in the villages system. In the village, also higher education, also colleges, also medical, also market, big road, broad road, nicely road, drainage system, light system, field also. Just rural areas in the underdeveloped countries are developed like the cities. But in the underdeveloped countries, in the rural areas, it has been the ignorance, and even the literacy rate is very low. employability is a big question in the underdeveloped country. So there is the big exclusive education system prevailing in the world, and that is directly related to the development. The country where education is of quality and most of the people have educated, they have the knowledge of professional and technical education, their growth rate is already high. I'm not saying that this time the growth rate level of that country is more, because they have already achieved the development. They have to protect their development, while in the underdeveloped countries, the growth rate is high, but that is asymmetrical. The benefit of that growth only going in the hand of few people. So that is a big problem. Now I'm discussing about the higher education system in the underdeveloped country, particularly in the case of India. What are the challenges? So in the case of India, the gross enrollment ratio in the higher education is about 20%. That is very low. In the African countries, less than this, about 10%, 12%. In the most of the African countries, gross enrollment ratio in the higher education. In the West African, in the West Asian countries, the gross enrollment ratio is also very low than India also. That is about 15%, 16% also. We are seeing that we are not developing the intellectuals, and we are only have become the just degree holders. We are seeing that many institutions are imparting the degree of BTech, MTech, MBBS, PhD like this, but they are only imparting the degree. The quality of the students is as per the degree. So the low quality of supply of the students in the job market, the students have no employability, they have no knowledge, they have no practical knowledge, no positive attitude, how to do the job, how to become the job creator, how to provide the job to the society. These are also the big problems. And developing youth with the environmental sustainability, human values, the people, students are lacking the human value and professional ethics. We are also seeing this. So what should we do? We should do that. We should prepare the workforce. We should prepare the learners for the global competitiveness. It is the demand of our, and for this we have to develop the attitude should be given first focus, then a skill, and then knowledge. And this time we are focusing on the knowledge based degree. That is not sufficient. A skill development is very important. Practical knowledge is very important. Attitude should be positive, that I can do this work, I can learn, I can make this, I have patience, I am positive, surely I will do this. Such type of things is required. We are seeing that in the underdeveloped country, there is also problem of the brain drain. The talented mind of the developing and underdeveloped countries are interested to move to the developed countries. This is also a big problem in the higher education system. So now we are also seeing that in the rural areas, there is lack of accessibility and affordability of education. Therefore, through the digitalization, we can think that there should be focus on the online education, and online education is based on the earning and learning both. And through online education, you can get the education at any time, any time, in the night, in the day, in any free time, and any age group people can take the online education. 40 years, 60 years, 65 years like this. While you are doing the job, we are very poor, you are not able to go to the school, then you can take the online education and you can do your job also. And through online education, we can invite the lecture from the industry people, the practical people. So this is possible. So I'm thinking that online education is not the competitive of offline education or traditional education. It is the complementary of traditional education. So in this case, I'm discussing the education employability and development. It has been observed that the multiplier effect in the education in the human resource has always been more than the multiplier effect in the other sectors. When you do the investment in the manufacturing, when you do the investment to generating the human resource or any other sector, the multiplier effect means the rate of change in national income as a result of change in investment, that is very high, that is very high in the human resource development in the education system, and that is the need of investment in the education system, particularly in the underdeveloped and developing countries. Then that will related to the converting the population into human resource, and it will be based on the integrated system like developing of knowledge, developing of a skill, developing of positive attitude, moral development. Entrepreneurship education is the need of our. Mostly people are interested after that education to do the job, to get the job. That is a not good thing. The people should become the job creator, job maker. In the developed countries, many people are job creators. In the underdeveloped countries, the people are more interested to get the job. So this is not the beauty. Rural entrepreneurship, women entrepreneurship, such type of professional education is required, that will directly related to the job creation, employability. Education to all is also very important, and we should focus on the research and innovation. Multidisciplinary education is very, very required. In the case of India, we are seeing that MA, PhD, history, geography, sociology, Hindi like this. But when you go to the USA, Canada, Britain, Germany, this not type of subject. The subject is MA policy study, MA development studies, MA regional planning. Such type of subjects are prevailing there. So multidisciplinary education is also required, and interdisciplinary education is also required to develop in such type of country. In this education system, we should focus on the personality development, communication skill development, character building, reasoning, mathematical thinking, cultural ideas, rural development ideas. Yoga should be promoted for the health system, good health, good wealth, green world, and for the clean world. Yoga system is very important, and underdeveloped countries should have the global connectivity with all the developed countries of the world, and we should have to make the learners, make the people the responsible citizen, responsible producer, responsible consumer, responsible national citizen, responsible global citizen, that all should believe on the humanity, the welfare of the people of the world. And by this way, there is a need of the development of knowledge, attitude, and a skill should be, and attitude and a skill should be more focused for employability of the world. Then we can achieve the objective of sustainable development. In the 2001 to 2015, the period was the Millennium Development Goals. The 8th objective was fixed to achieve in the context of developing countries. But from 2016 to 2030, it has been defined by the UNESCO Sustainable Development Goal, the 17 goal that is for the developed and underdeveloped countries, all the countries, and that all the goals can be achieved through the good education, quality education, employable education, focusing on the nation building, focusing on making the people good international and national citizen. That is the very, very important. So I'm saying that finally this education system should be based on Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramaya. All the people of the world should be happy, should be happy. All the people of the world should be diseaseless. That is the important, and the world should come together for the educational development, for the development of world. That is the need of the hour, by the cooperation of one country to the another country. So this is case. I'm very, very thankful. I'm very, very happy that the Director, Research Culture Society, Professor C.M. Patel, and the Department of Journalism and Advertising, National University, They all have given me the opportunity to express my view in this very important topic for the global, for the welfare of global. So I'm again and again thankful for this Research Culture Society. So namaskar, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. You defined very well in a short time of duration, and which is very helpful for the audience and especially for the research scholars. And I definitely say that we can definitely see that some changes with our new educational policy 2020. So there has been maybe there is chances to lots of changes in our new education system. Now our next speaker is Dr. Manirajan, sir. Now I invited to invite to Ms. Ashwini Madam to introduce the sir.
Hello, everyone. I would like to introduce today's guest speaker, Dr. Mari Rajan, Dean and Senior Lecturer in School of Social Science and Management, Mosa University, Zambia. Sir is doctorated in sociology, specialized in community rights of indigenous communities, and also having MPhil degree holder in sociology as well. As a part of academic career, Sir has started from 2015. He served as a visiting lecturer to social work in Teaching Institute and around hometown. From 2016 onward, Sir is working as a full-time academician in Zambia. During tenure with DMI, Sir has guided 80 undergraduate students, 8 master degree holders, and 4 PhD students. As an academician and development professional, Sir has visited more than 9 countries for seminar and training workshop and wrote 11 articles and 2 books. Sir's one conference paper has selected for Best Presentation Award at Malawi International Conference in 2018. Congrats, sir. Please join me in giving Dr. Mari Rajan a warm welcome. Welcome, sir. Ritima.
Kindly start the session, sir.
Everyone, and welcome everyone to this international conference of new waves of digitalization, socialization, and education system. First of all, I want to congratulate the Director of Research Culture Society, Dr. C.M. Patelji, and all the team members who have really thoughtfully and selected this very relevant theme for the present situation, new waves of digitalization, socialization, and education system. Very thoughtfully, the central theme is also selected because as we know that the times which we are in today, there are really new waves in all these 3 systems. So, and also before starting with my session, I would like to welcome all the eminent personalities who are there with us, Professor Nayak, Professor Yanina, Professor Mishra, and Dr. Marijana. So and the participants also, the paper presenters, I really welcome everyone. And we will just have a short thinking process on this theme now. As Professor Mishra has in detail discussed so many things about the current education system and the situation which we are in. He has also pointed out so many percentages, graphics, statistical evidences, and the way our current higher education system is functioning, the difference and the comparisons between the developed countries and the underdeveloped countries, which was well stated. So I want to shift my focus to the paradigm shift which we are in now. We all know that from 2010 onwards, in India it was defined as the age of development and according to the education policies. But we had already introduced these kind of ICTs in education. Digital learning was already there, and the socialization also, we believed in a different type of socialization. Then we can say that socialization played a very important role, because education is a means of social change, and man, who is the superior in all the creations, is supposed to be the highest in order, and man is such a creature that he needs to be in the society and influence the society, and all the things that we have been talking about now, that education is desired to bring a effective change in the personality of a human being, in the morals, the ethics, thinking, and all such things. So socialization is a very important perspective when you think about all such things, and education is a very effective system to affect socialization, communication, etc. But suddenly in the last 6 months, we have observed that there is a paradigm shift in this digitalization, also socialization. There are new norms of socialization, and how is it all going to affect our current education system? Because we observe that in the developed countries, they have already been using these kind of systems, these kind of interactive programs, which are conducted in their education systems, like schools in Canada. I was also fortunate enough to visit some education college in Canada, Toronto. There I already found out that they're using so many types of teaching systems, which we are now trying to implement here. So there are so many difficulties and challenges which we are facing right now when we have started with this digitalization and online learning teaching in our underdeveloped countries, and especially in a country like ours. So I would also like to focus on this kind of things which are happening in the emergence of knowledge, and how the classroom is going to be a very effective source of socialization, which it was in the previous, before corona times it was, and now suddenly the classroom has been shifted to the homes. And so that in this, the process of socialization is severely affected. Now, whether this is a positive change, or how is it going to affect the minds and the behavior of the little ones, that is also has to be taken into account. So peer learning, where is it going to happen? What is going to happen about the group learnings when the students are at home, and especially when we are discussing about the psychology of students? So how is it going to affect at the primary levels, how it is going to affect at the higher secondary levels, then the higher education system? So all these things, when we are thinking about socialization, has to be taken into account, where as teachers, when we are in the classroom, when we are as professors, when we are in the classroom, we are able to interact in a different manner. And now the students are virtually in front of us. So what are the kind of challenges we are facing? We are facing tremendous challenges right now. If you see, the teachers are under tremendous mental pressure, and this pressure keeps on building, as there are different challenges they have to face from the home front also, because the home is much affected now. The parents who were always when it was in the normal schools, the parents were outside the school environment, but now the parents are in with their children, and they seem to point out on every small little thing that is happening in the classroom. So teachers are facing much problems in this process now of this digitalization and communication that is going on. So the next point which I would think is, then how to make our classrooms effective. That is one thing which I saw in this brochure, and I thought that I would like to discuss on that. That how then we would try to engage our students and make a creative classroom environment for them, or to keep them motivated, high time motivated, to see to keep a track on their learning systems, and to impart the best that we can in schools. So I thought of discussing one kind of teaching learning system, that a method of teaching, as I'm into education, and I always try to find out new ways of teaching learning processes, and I try to discuss on that different models of teaching, so many other things. But I thought that flipped learning model, which we all know is very much it can be very much beneficial for us now in this situation, because the flipped learning model is a kind of blended learning system. So where it involves a blending of different things, and now we need to focus on that. Our classroom environment and at home environment, that has to be really kept very interesting for the students. So the interest level, which is according to the Bloom's taxonomy, if you see that at the base of the triangle of Bloom's taxonomy, we all know that it is the knowledge which has to be imparted, the information which has to be imparted, and the teacher does the best. The teacher tries to do it at her best in the classroom. But now at the home, in this flipped models of teaching, it is exactly reverted. Whatever was done in the class, that is information delivering, is now done at home. So it is a kind of a very good blending which can be used in these present times. And people think that it is only a kind of reversing the roles of the teacher, that whatever has been done in the class and taught in the class, now the students will observe the videos, and online teaching, they will do it at home, whatever they have to do, and then they will come in the class. And really speaking, it is going to be beneficial, because now after this corona times also, there will be times such as we will need to be in this kind of in between situation, where we will have to resort to online resources also, and we will have to be physically present also in the, so there will be a kind of in between system. We have to adapt ourselves. So this is a kind of shift I'm talking about. And so we need to move on from the traditional system to a kind of system which will be beneficial to the learner, and as well as to the teacher himself or herself. So this is a kind of shift I'm talking about. So flipped classroom teaching is a very good kind of approach that we can use now. See, there are different instructional approaches. I had got it on the PPT also, but now I don't think there will be time for me to share all these things, but I will just shorten it up, because I have found out the data of different instructional approaches that are already being used in different countries. And at present, the situation is such that most of the instructional approaches that are used, 75% of them are based on differentiated learning. Then if you can say that 54% are based on blended hybrid systems. Then there is 47% which are based on individualized learning. Then there is about say 33% which is based on personalized learning. Then there are flipped learning is about 28%. And then you can see that understanding by design, UBD systems, that is about 17%. Then there is universal design for learning, UDL, that is 11%, and purely online learning which goes on, that is 9.7%. So already we can see that this is the data on the different instructional approaches that is going on already all over the world. And so I thought that this flipped kind of classroom will be a very advantageous one. First of all, it offers the students the benefit of greater control on learning, the steer class discussion to ask instructions for clarifications, so their needs and to guide the class from time to time. While conducting hands-on experiments and practicing new skills in class, students can have more autonomy. Then they can explore new concepts in their own way, at their own pace, and in a controlled and supportive environment. And students are very likely to remain engaged in the classroom. Another benefit of this kind of learning is that the instructors, they don't have to flip the entire classroom. That is the benefit of this pedagogy. You can instead flip a single lesson to introduce your students to see the concept, how it works, and how it goes on from there. So the downside to flipped learning is that it relies heavily on technology, with students needing to access the internet even from at-home learning. So this is also one of the aspects which we have to cover. So this is, I don't think so we have time for continuing this session. So I will just stop now, and I would just conclude that with all this kind of instructional materials which we have, we should try to resort to such methods of teaching, learning in the classroom that will engage our students in the right manner. And also we should see that the process of socialization is not really adversely affected, but our students should be able to socialize also through this virtual modes, and even when they are in schools, so that proper learning takes place and we have a good future for our students even at this time of the challenging times. So thank you so much for offering me this time to speak, and thank you once again.
Thank you so much.
How are you?
Thank you so much for this wonderful session, ma'am. I hope you will guide us definitely for the future learning also. Now our next session is for Dr. Manirajan sir. I kindly request to the Gulane ma'am, ki please introduce the Manirajan sir.
I would like to introduce today's guest speaker, Dr. Manirajan, Dean and Senior Lecturer in School and Social Science and Management, Mosa University, Zambia. Sir is doctorated in Sociology, specialized in community rights of indigenous communities, and also having MPhil degree holder in Sociology as well. As a part of academic career, Sir has started from 2015. He served as visiting lecturer to social work in Teaching Institute and around hometown. From 2016 onwards, Sir is working as a full-time academician in Zambia. During tenure with TMI, Sir has guided 80 undergraduate students, 8 master degree holders, and 4 PhD students. Sir's one of conference paper has selected for Best Presentation Award at Malawi International Conference in 2018. Sir has visited more than 9 countries for seminar and training workshop and wrote 11 articles and 2 books. Please join me in giving Dr. Manirajan a warm welcome. Welcome, sir.
Good morning, ma'am. Thank you very much for giving me opportunity to present my case. It's not my case. It's I'm going to speak about a resource poor setting. The country where I'm coming from, it's India, where I had a rich digital experience and a lot of opportunities I had during my days as a student as well as my professional life. I had a lot of opportunities when I was there at India. When I moved from India to Africa, I found a lot of difficulties in terms of accessing resources. That is the one I wanted to share with you all, because the title of the conference, New Waves of Digitalization and Socialization and Education System. So I'm this one, it's more appropriate for me to share the big gap between resource poor and resource rich countries. This is the way I'm looking at to appropriate for my presentation. I'm Dr. Manirajan, Dean, School of Social Sciences and Management, Mosa University. Of course, I'm acting Vice Chancellor as well from last 6 months. Especially before Corona, just now I took charge before Corona as acting Vice Chancellor. My experience with this period of Corona, how the educational institutions were heavily affected, which the way we were overcoming, especially in the context of resource poor setting. That's my area of presentation today. Before coming to that, the digitalizations, this process, from my personal experience, it's one of the beautiful invention which brought us by the technicians, because the digitalization makes life very easy. Before, for example, when I was a student, that time preparing a master table itself is a big task. Even if you are having a 40 or 50 questions, making a master table, it's a lengthy process. It itself took more than 2 or 3 days to consolidate your data and everything. But when you are after the digitalization, especially you started using SPSS, the life is very easy. Even as a researcher, your life is very easy. That's how I took it. Though I belongs to social science background, I took it digitalization very actively. Especially when I interested this field, I started using open source related platform in my laptops. I started using Ubuntu from 2007 onwards, which make me which made me to use new technologies very oftenly. Especially, I'm being a practitioner of PRA, I can able to combine the global positioning system, global information system in my PRA exercises. Then the digital library, so many things I can able to quote. But the point I'm here making, the university I'm heading currently, which is a very small university, when you are comparing to Indian context, it's like a small college. But we call it in Africa, we call it, I belongs to Zambia from 2016. I'm teaching here. But the kind of setup we are having, it's like a small college. But here it made us an university. This kind of universities, they are completely 100% dependent on students' fees. From that student fees only, the universities are moving. When Corona came, things are worsening. It is not easy to move. That is the stage we were facing from February. That's when the universities were closed in, especially in February 18, we were closed our universities. From that day, meeting students, it's a hard. So when the students moved from out of town, so that is the time. It's the natural phenomena made us. It's an make compulsion to think university, how the universities can go as digitalized one. That thinking made us to make some effort, but our situations, it is not possible for the management to put any extra resources. So that is the background. We were initiated in March, something able to done most universities in Zambia, because in Zambia more than 6 public universities are there. They are having infrastructures. Even those who are having infrastructures, they can able to do online educations. But when comparing to when looking at the students, the way they are coming from different places, it is not easy. The digital divide in Zambia, especially in Africa, it is very high. Even now, still we are using 4G. Most places it is only available, 3G is only available. Entire country, the cities, they availed only 4G. But most of the students, they are coming from the places where 3G is the only medium they can able to access the internet. This is the big digital divide we found. From this stage, we introduced, as an university, we introduced online learning using the open source apps, especially Google and Google Meet is the one we used in initial times. That time only we found even this itself is a it's a lot of challenges our students are facing. Then we decided at one point, whoever is able to make it, they can able to make it online classes. But we decided to do the blended learning. So all the lecturers were asked to do the recording. The sessions supposed to be recorded. The same lessons supposed to be posted in the Google Classrooms. That's how we started. Because most of the students, even some classes, we have 45 students, but only 10 to 15 students are actively participating in that sessions. Later only we realized it is not going to make any sense if you are going completely online. So then we decided to do the recording. The recording can be posted in the YouTube. Then YouTube lessons can be shared with our students through WhatsApp. At whatever time they can able to offer, they can able to listen the classes. That's how we made it. It's a big change. In the month of March we started, but later only we realized because of the digital divide, our students are not able to access. So then we started recording the lessons. The recorded lessons were directly sent to the students. But all these constraints, it made us to think differently. So the constraint points, we took it as a key to facilitate our students. So one point we decided the lesson supposed to be recorded by the lecturers. It can be posted in the classrooms. Then we motivated our students to do socialization process. All the classes, if I am posting a lesson today, there should be a time, a fixed time to discuss the lessons through WhatsApp. Or even within the classrooms, they can post the questions. The lecturers were asked to answer the questions. With the 3G, it is not easy to go online lessons. It's better to put the videos. The videos can be discussed within the classrooms. That's how we managed the entire next 3 months. The whole semester we completed somehow. We completed with the video lessons. Then the video lessons, we were moved to online exams. We set the exams questions and we gave time to write from the Google apps only. But we managed that, motivated us. The management is somewhat it's motivated to spend some resources to enhance the practice. That's why I'm saying the corona is push us to make some effort to digitalize our university. That's what I can able to say now. Currently, MOSA is having a Moodle platform. The Moodle platform this semester we are going with the Moodle platform. The Moodle platform, all the lecturers were given separate space. The space were effectively used by the lecturers. Still they are doing video lessons. The video lessons were posted in Moodles. Then they fixed time with the students to do a discussion time, and also assignment, everything handled through Moodle. I can able to say the digitalization, it's make life very easy if you are having a proper infrastructure facilities. But if you are not having a proper infrastructure facilities, at least you need to, as an institution, you need to make sure your students are supposed to access. So we learn these lessons as a university. We come up with we were reaching the place of Moodle. But previously, before Corona, it is my ambition to initiate an online platform. That time it was not positively looked at by the management, but now because of the Corona, which taught lessons, and also everyone had a learning, so that leads to introduce Moodle. Now the Moodle is the main platform of learning. Still now we are in a lockdown space. Moodle is played very active role. It brings both the teachers and the students in the same place, discuss their lessons as well as clarifications. And also we introduce the digital library. Even that one, we asked some supports from outside. There are digital universities were running through open source, especially I can say Research for Life. That it's more than 8 major databases. You can able to access lakhs and lakhs of books you can able to access. These databases were given free access to our students, which also connected with the Moodle. At any time, students can access. So the point here I'm making, there is a hurdle game in front of you. With the support of digital world or the digitalization process, we can able to cope up. That is what I can able to say. As an university, we can able to cope up this period of corona using digitalization. That's the contribution digitalization made. Even this, not only digitalization, the socialization process is also happening without any inductions. So now the students, they are sitting in a particular time, students are sitting in the classroom, they are doing several discussions based on the video lessons. The lecturers also contributing effectively in enhancing their discussions. It's a new experience. Especially initially, I was struggling. As a social science background person, I'm not completely a technocrat, but with the limited resources and my experience, we can able to overcome this period using digitalization. It automatically brings a big socialization process among the lecturers and the students. So this sets, now there is a big thing or achievements mentioned by other universities. A lot of public universities are having facilities, but they are not able to reach the most of their students. But the universities like MOSA, they have very minimum setup. They are located in rural areas. With their minimum facilities, they are reaching the students effectively. Even they can able to conduct online exams. That's the feedback I received from the parents. The same parents, some of them were sending their children to the public universities or the big private universities. They are also sending their siblings to our universities. They can able to come. They are comparing and able to say in a positive manner. With this kind of rural universities also able to make sense during the time of Corona. What I say, when you are looking at the challenges as an opportunity, then you can able to achieve. That one, that the challenges can be taken as an opportunity. That if you are looking at that way, the digitalization is going to make a lot of changes in your future endowment. Here, I can stop my presentation. This is what I wanted to share with you through this inaugural address. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a really interesting hear about the experience you had in the Zambia. So we will definitely try to improve our virtual classroom teaching by what the tips or the method you have given us. So lastly, I just want to announce the name of Ashwini Madam to come, please, and give the vote of thanks to all our dignitaries. Yes, Ashwini ma'am.
Yes, thank you, Priti ma'am. Honorable Director Dr. C.M. Patel, Research Culture Society, our most valued invited guest and all participants. It's my privilege to have been asked to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. I, on behalf of Research Culture Society, extend a very heartfelt gratitude to all speakers for gracing and sharing your opinion with us today. I may like to express our sincere thanks to respected Dr. Suresh Chandra Nayak, Professor and HOI, Amity School of Communication, for his articulate speech. I must mention our deep sense of appreciation to respected Professor Yanina Lisen, Head of Department of Journalism and Advertising, Kyiv National University of Trade and Economics, Ukraine, for her good explanation. We also would like to acknowledge our gratitude to respected Professor Manoj Kumar Mishra, Department of Economics and Statistics, British American University, for their emphatic speech. A very heartfelt gratitude to respected Dr. Mari Rajan, Dean and Senior Lecturer, School of Social Science and Management, MOSA University, for gracing and sharing your opinion with us. And a big thank you to respected Principal Dr. Rekha Pathak, Dr. D.Y. Patil College of Education, Pimpri, Pune, Savitribai Phule, Pune University, for giving an excellent coverage on this topic. We all are inspired by your great words. I also thank to all who have come from different destinations for their support and cooperation. Thank you very much.
Now here we wind up this session. This was our first session. Now the second session we will start after the 10 minutes. So we will meet after this. I think 1:45. Thank you, sir.
Thank you all. Thank you.